What's up, everyone? It's Ben from the Vinyl Jukebox, and I noticed a really cool thread going around the vinyl community. Well, actually, it's two threads. Top 25 US bands and top 25 UK bands. So I thought Veterans Day weekend, what better time to jump on board and share with you guys my top 25 US bands. So before we get started, though, I just wanted to thank all the veterans out there. Thank you so much for your service. I'm wearing my Salute to Service Jets hat today to honor that. So once again, thank you guys so much for making our country a safer place. Also, before we get started, please be sure to leave a like and a comment below this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. Alright, so I just wanted to preface my ranking by saying that I did rank these as best as I could in order from 25 all the way down to 1. I will probably want to change the order as soon as I show these records. It was pretty difficult. I mean, an impossible task. Who could rank the top 25 best US bands? But I did. I tried. And I know I'm missing a good number of bands. I'm only doing vinyl today. I did not pull out any of my CDs for this. So I'm going based on what I have. And I tried to really pull either the most influential album from each band or my favorite album from each band. And yes, I'm definitely leaving out some crucial bands, but, you know, just having fun with this. And be easy in the comments below, because I know that you guys are going to scream at me for some of these choices or some of the bands that I left out. So without further ado, let's get started with number 25, The White Stripes. Iconic duo that I believe started in the 90s from Detroit, Jack White and Meg White. They started with the whole brother and sister thing. They had this whole backstory that they were siblings, kind of added to the gimmick of the band, that they were just a couple of kids playing. But in reality, they were actually married. This band was actually my first concert ever. In 2007, I saw them on their tour for the album Icky Thump, which turned out to be their last tour ever. But just amazing, influential band for the whole alternative scene. So number 25, The White Stripes. Number 24, and a lot of people might rank this band even higher for US bands, but this is really a band that I just started getting into within the last year or two. For a while, I couldn't stand this band, but now I'm super into them, especially in the summertime. This is the Eagles, one of their the best-selling album of all time, I believe. Eagles' Greatest Hits. Just so many iconic songs, so many iconic eras of the band. They're still touring, I believe. I don't even know if they're on a farewell tour at this point, but they're just one of those bands that when people think of California, America, Eagles come to mind for sure immediately, and especially for me right now, especially since I've gotten into them. So number 24, the Eagles. Number 25. Now, you couldn't have any list like this without putting some Creedence in. Creedence Clearwater Revival, San Francisco band, started in the 60s. Just fantastically influential songs. And I think of this band whenever I go on a road trip. I just think of memories of my parents playing a John Fogerty kind of greatest hits compilation CD that included a lot of CCR hits on it. So that's really what I think of, just road tripping cross country, across America, just a staple on classic rock radio. So this is number 23, Creedence Clearwater Revival, number 23. Number 22, Mountain, Leslie West's Mountain. Just one of the pioneers for heavy rock. Started off in the 60s, one of the bands that played the original Woodstock, and a lot of people don't remember that or don't think of them for that, but they did. Leslie West, incredibly influential to guitar players such as Zakk Wylde, Slash, just any of your heavy rock guitar players. Really got sounds out of his guitar that nobody else was doing at the time, especially with a Les Paul Jr. guitar. And this album just full of crazy heavy songs, especially for the time. Mississippi Queen, Never in My Life, just amazing stuff from Mountain. And Leslie West, another one of those artists that I got to see luckily right before he passed. Although he wasn't able to stand for the show, he still put on a phenomenal show. Seated or standing, Leslie West was the man. So that is number 25, 24, 23, 22, Mountain. And I'm probably going to be counting these off a few times during this video, because as I talk, I'm definitely going to lose count here. Number 21. We're going to go with some Smashing Pumpkins. Smashing Pumpkins, an iconic artist of the 90s. So many hits. This is my favorite album from them, Siamese Dream. Another band that I was really lucky to be able to see, third row. So number 21, Smashing Pumpkins. Number 20. And a lot of people are going to get mad at me for this. Number 20, Pearl Jam. I have other Pearl Jam albums on CD, but this is the only one that I do have on vinyl. Now, I did do a full review of this album when it came out, Dark Matter. But Pearl Jam, the band that you think of when you think Seattle grunge next to Nirvana, this is definitely the band that lasted, that stood the test of time. Eddie Vedder sounding as good, if not better than ever. And just so many iconic songs. Really the band, along with Nirvana, that pushed 80s glam metal out of the forefront and led the way for that grunge revolution of the 90s. So Pearl Jam, Dark Matter, number 20. Number 19, and people are going to say I ranked this way too low. I just know it. Ramones. Self-titled album. Could have picked a lot of different albums. I love the Ramones, but I decided to go with the self-titled. This is an original self-titled. Just the pioneers, I have to say, of punk rock, especially from New York. Now, New York and the UK had their own different flavors of punk rock, but the Ramones definitely led the charge for the US version. Basically, the band that was a staple at CBGBs and the clubs of New York City, influenced bands like Motorhead, influenced bands like Metallica, influenced even Guns N' Roses, just so many influential songs. A band that's not known for their musicianship per se, but really their ability to take a song, just speed it up and make it sound like nothing else before. And that's really from what people have told me who lived through it. The Ramones really did that. They sounded like nothing else at the time. So Ramones, number 19. And this one really, I struggled with this one. This one, I don't know if I ranked it too high, but number 18, Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters, I really think I put them on this list because of the fact that they are one of the biggest bands in the world right now. And Dave Grohl did something amazing. He was able to go from one of the biggest bands in the world in the 90s and basically have to start from scratch and created one of the best bands in the world, or biggest bands in the world of the 2000s and on. And I know that they're going through some controversy right now, but they're headlining stadiums when they're playing. They're making movies. They're putting out great albums with radio play songs. So I truly think Foo Fighters have to be one of those best US bands for sure, at least in the conversation. Number 17, New York Dolls. I went with this one a lot because of their influence. I mean, this band really pioneered the whole glam rock scene, at least in the United States, of the 1970s. Bowie and Mark Bolan of T-Rex really forefronted that from the UK side. But these guys took that and made it New York street. And it was incredible what they did. These guys came before punk. They influenced punk. I don't think the Ramones would have happened if not for these guys from the New York Dolls. Just amazing songs, and they were another one of those bands that were not known for their musicianship, but they were known for their stage presence and their appearance. The way that they dressed, quite shocking for the time. But they did have some amazing songs here, especially on this album. Personality Crisis, Looking for a Kiss, Trash, Bad Girl, Subway Train, Jet Boy. I mean, it's just the amount of great songs are endless on this album and their other studio album, In Too Much Too Soon. It's really too bad that they broke up and ultimately most of the members have died, because I think that in this original form, had they stayed together, they could have kept on building what they had and really grown this band to a much bigger place. So that would be number 17, New York Dolls. Actually, what? Oh, 19, 18, 17. Okay, cool. Number 16, Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains. Another one of those bands that really led the charge for Seattle grunge music in the 90s. Really started in the 80s, and I have to say we're the heaviest of those bands for sure. Jerry Cantrell's guitar, even to this day on Jerry Cantrell's latest solo album, just insanely heavy, great songs. And it's a shame that Lane Staley, the lead singer, had to pass away so young, because this band, I think, could be on that level that Pearl Jam's on right now if they were to have been able to hold it together in that original form. Jerry Cantrell still leads the charge with this band. He still honors the fallen members' memories by keeping the band going, but definitely the original Alice in Chains, one of the best US rock bands. Now we're on 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, number 15, Velvet Underground. Another one of those bands that was very influential to the punk scene. This is one of the most iconic album covers of all time. But Velvet Underground really started that whole art rock and what would later become punk scene of New York. And Lou Reed would go on to make a name for himself as a solo artist. But this album really started it all for them. Songs like I'm Waiting for the Man, Venus and Furs, Heroin, yeah, just amazing songs on this album. I didn't like it at first when I first listened to this album, but it's really grown on me over the years for sure, and how much of an iconic album it truly is. So, number 15, Velvet Underground. Number 14, Alice Cooper. The Alice Cooper Group. Now, I know that there was a little rule going around on the vinyl community videos that they weren't going to use like solo artists with a band like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but I really don't think that this is the case. The Alice Cooper Group came way before Alice Cooper as a solo artist, and that's just what the band was called, the Alice Cooper Group. So I think they definitely count. The creators, basically, and might have been some things similar beforehand, but definitely the most iconic shock rock group of all time, the one who influenced many like Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson. They wouldn't be what they are without the Alice Cooper Group. And just a Detroit powerhouse band that not only had amazing songs, but an even better stage show to go with it. And Alice Cooper, if you see him even today, is just as good as he ever was. His stage show, his band, his vocals, just amazing what he's still able to do at a later age. So number 14, Alice Cooper Group. Number 13, lucky number 13, Misfits. Punk band, late 70s, early 80s. That's when they really started, and went through a few different incarnations, but I'm really just talking about the original Misfits here. Just incredibly iconic band. Never made it to the big time level. Well, I guess you could say now they are, because they're headlining venues like Madison Square Garden and the like. But really had songs that influenced bands like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, who covered them. Their t-shirts themselves with the skull on it, incredibly iconic. But just one of the best songwriting groups, I think, of that punk scene. And I think that, you know, later on they got a little more theatrical. I think they were always theatrical to some extent, but I think that the songs themselves really hold up as the best part of this band for sure. So that would be number 13, Misfits. Number 12, Red Hot Chili Peppers. So I'm not sure if I put this band maybe too high or maybe too low. I don't know. It kind of this middle area. I didn't overthink too much. I kind of just went with my gut with a lot of these bands. But Red Hot Chili Peppers, definitely a unique sound that bridged funk, rock, hip hop, and and punk. Um, in the 80s definitely had a different sound than later on in the 90s when they were to get a lot bigger with more radio hits, but just another one of those bands that when they do tour now, when they do release an album now, are one of the biggest bands in the world. Definitely iconic, influential, and really wear their influences on their sleeves. They're always working with George Clinton and covering songs by Iggy Pop. So just incredible band. Incredible musicianship that really did something unique at a time where people were kind of falling in line. In the 80s, people were on the glam metal kick. In the 90s, people were doing the grunge thing. And the Chili Peppers always did their own thing, which is really admirable of them. And they always sounded great doing it, and they still sound great, still releasing great albums. So number 12, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Number 11 will be my favorite of the Seattle grunge band, Soundgarden, another band who lost their lead singer way too young, Chris Cornell. This is my favorite album of theirs, Bad Motorfinger. But definitely one of those big four of the Seattle grunge scene. I was actually supposed to, well, I wasn't supposed to, but I wanted to see Soundgarden. They were playing on their last tour, what would turn out to be their last tour. They were playing at a small theater in New York City. And I thought about going, and I said, nah, I'll catch them the next time. And little did I know there wouldn't be a next time. But definitely just heavy songs, great hits for the 90s. And just an iconic sound from their singer, Chris Cornell, that nobody else could replicate. Definitely one of the best rock singers of all time. So Soundgarden would be number 11. Number 10. Number 10. And some people may say this is too low on the list, but I say this is my list. The Doors. Doors, just one of those... one of the biggest, most influential bands of the 60s and early 70s, with the songwriting of Jim Morrison and the haunting organ sound of the band. Just so many hits and just great songs, and the Doors would be my number 10 for sure for this list. All right, number 9. And we're really getting into the thick of it here. The 9 is going to be one of my favorite bands recently, and maybe if you would have asked me a year or two ago, this would not be in my top 10, but now it is. Grand Funk Railroad. I was just having a conversation about this band today. I feel like this is one of those bands where they were one of the biggest bands of the 70s that just totally fell off, and people forgot about them. And I definitely want to do a video about this band, about why they fell off, about what happened, because this is one of those bands where I have no idea why that happened. They had hits, they were playing arenas and stadiums, and just all of a sudden they fell off. And I know that they broke up and everything, but just why is this band not bigger than it is? Even if Mark Farner was to get back with Grand Funk, I just don't believe they would be, attaining the same amount of success that they did at that time. So number 9 would be Grand Funk for me for sure. All right, number 8. Number 8, another recent love of mine, Grateful Dead. Definitely one of the most iconic bands of the 60s and 70s. Really created the whole jam rock scene. They have a whole culture around them. It's not just the band, it's the Deadhead culture. And I've really been interested in that over the last few months, and really gotten into just, really digging into some of these live shows, which is really where this band really shines the most, is in their live shows. I really love the 70s era of the band the most, but there's really good stuff from all the eras for sure. So where are we right now? We're 10, 9, 8 would be Grateful Dead. Number 7. Now we're going into a little bit of the metal part of this video. Metallica, San Francisco thrash band, one of the big four of thrash. Really one of the, if not the biggest rock metal band in the world right now, and really bridge that gap between rock and metal. You know, the only thrash band that really has their songs being played on the radio. And just so many iconic songs, too many to list. Amazing live shows. I just saw their show last year, which was the No Repeats 2 shows in every city tour, and I went to both shows and they were just incredible. Metallica, iconic band that definitely will be seen as one of the best bands, rock bands of all time. All right, so we are on number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, just want to make sure we were on track here. So number 6, I'm going to go with Kiss for number 6. Kiss, definitely one of the biggest bands in the world at times, and the reason why I say at times is, you know, they had their huge success of the 70s where they were one of the biggest bands in the world. Then during the reunion in the 90s, they went back on top again. But definitely icons in terms of stage show, stage performance, in terms of merchandising, and just all around great songs. And I think that this band is a clear example of having, you know, eras to it. This band sounded different in every one of their eras, and I really like every one of their eras for its own reason. You know, they've been straight up rock, they've been glam metal, they've been pop, they've been punk at times too. Just one of those bands that can be chameleons in a way like that, but just iconic albums, iconic part of, you know, the rock world. And I know that a lot of the times they could be seen as a kiddie comic book band, but like, that's what I love about them. They are just fantastic. And yeah, Kiss. Awesome. As you guys can tell, I'm doing this video off the cuff. So, you know, I'm going to say what I got to say about these albums, and, you know, then we move on. Leonard Skinner, another one of my recent favorite bands. This is number 5, Leonard Skinner. Definitely the sound of the South when it comes to rock music. So many hit songs, so many iconic songs. Another one of those bands where a lot of the members passed way too young, because I think this band could have even gotten bigger and bigger if they would have if that tragic plane accident had not have happened. But just, this is their first album, the one that started it all. Obviously, Sweet Home Alabama would be on the second album, but this one has Freebird, and Freebird is definitely one of their best songs, but also the song that people love to yell out at any given show that you go to. But Leonard Skinner, definitely a band that you think of when you think America, patriotic, and one of my favorite bands for sure. Number 4, and is this okay? Yes. Number 4 would be the Stooges. The Stooges. Now, I'm going to show 2 albums for the Stooges, because there's 2 eras of the Stooges that really need to be highlighted. There's the first incarnation of the Stooges, which includes the self-titled album, as well as the Funhouse album. And then there's Iggy and the Stooges with Raw Power. So I really love both of these albums. They were really the, you know, Iggy's the godfather of punk, so influential to so many bands, and just really represents the energy of rock and roll, and just an all-around great band in both incarnations. So many great songs. So that's going to be my number 4. Number 3, Van Halen. One of the greatest guitar players of all time, one of the most influential guitar players of all time, Eddie Van Halen. I think both eras of this band are great, but really there's no denying that the David Lee Roth era, the first era, is the best era. I love Sammy Hagar, but this one's definitely the best for me. And just so iconic, these albums. You know, when Eddie came out, when this album came out and everybody heard Eddie's playing, suddenly the whole guitar scene changed in a way where everybody was trying to emulate what Eddie was doing. And you can really see the style of guitar playing change from the late 70s to the 80s. Suddenly everybody's using the whammy bar, everybody's finger tapping on the guitar. So just so iconic and just one of the best bands of all time, but definitely one of the best US bands. All right, number 2. Now, I couldn't give any list without going to my bread and butter, Guns N' Roses. I'm going with Guns N' Roses for number 2, not only because they are my favorite band, but also I think that they are, again, one of the biggest bands of all time. When they're touring and when they are active, they are one of the biggest bands of all time. I think they wear their influences on their sleeves. I think that this is definitely the greatest debut album of all time, if not the best rock album of all time. And just a powerhouse of a band. The way that they gel, the way that they write songs, they have influences from straight up rock to punk to funk, especially in the Use Your Illusion albums. They're showing all different sides of themselves. So just amazing band, amazing American band, and really multi-genre too. Hard rock to classic rock to a little bit of metal, especially when we look at things like Chinese Democracy, to piano ballads. I mean, this band's really got everything. All right, and here is my number 1. Phew. Number 1 would be Aerosmith. I think Aerosmith is truly the greatest American band of all time. They really, a lot of people like to goof on them for being a Rolling Stones copy band. I really don't think that they sound or look anything like the Rolling Stones. I think Joe Perry and Steven Tyler's songwriting was just iconic for their time and just iconic for all time. These songs are timeless. Just the sleaziness, the attitude, the power to their songs, the versatility in their playing and their songwriting, and just really represents America, I think, in the way that they write songs and the way that they played, and they really carried that flag for a long, long time. So Aerosmith, definitely my number 1. I was lucky enough to see Aerosmith in 2014 on their cycle for their what would be their last album. I'm really hoping that they're able to pull it together and maybe play one last show. But, we'll see what happens. But Aerosmith, definitely my number 1. All right, everybody. So those are my top 25 US bands. I'm sorry if I didn't give you a little more about each album, and I'm just talking off the cuff, so just having fun with it. But let me know in the comments below, what are some of your picks? What did I leave out? I'm sure I left out a lot. Do you disagree with some of my picks? Do you agree? Try to be nice about it. Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, leave a like and a comment, share the video, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.